You're listening to the Hope Not Nope podcast
with Doc Dylan
and Brandy.
We empower high performers with a 3-part strategy of hope,
self-agency, goals, and proven frameworks
so that you can reach your potential
and the highest quality of life. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Hope Not Nope podcast. Our listener named Owen asked, I want to get faster at distance running, but my back pain seems to be impacting any speed gains that I want. Do you have any tips that I could use to get faster?
Owen, you came to the right place.
Yes, Doc Dill and Brandy, who also wants to get faster at running.
Yes. I think of like you start running and you're like, if you do it right, you kind of start to enjoy running a little bit. And then you start realizing like for Owen of like, hey, I can take this somewhere. And I don't know what level he's going for. It could be like, could be high school, it could be college, could be like, hey, I'm running my first 5K and I'm doing it with my friends and I want to like show up and show out.
Yeah,
like
beast mode.
I want to show them like, boom, see you later. Give them a peace sign with like half a mile left. Like, see you later. So, you know, it is fun once you start to do it, but then you go, oh, I can do better at this. Awesome. But then it gets difficult when you start to get this thing that limits it, like pain. So Owen, if we were chatting and we are chatting, but like if you're in the office and I'm sitting here talking with you, the first thing I would say to you is, hey, we can have both of these goals, but what are the priorities? And how significant is the discomfort? If you have a competition coming up and you're like, you know what, like I have some back discomfort, it's like a 1 to 2 out of 10, but I'm not having like shooting pain down my legs and it's something that I can kind of like deal with and I just kind of need to manage it for right now. Like, okay, cool. We're going to kind of push a little bit on the performance side of your speed and split times and training, while also trying to kind of mitigate or not let your symptoms get worse. If we do that, and then it's kind of a win. Or is your goal that the back discomfort is getting to be too much? And the first goal has to be, hey, can you do that distance at any time without back discomfort? Mm-hmm. If it's a 5K, can you walk that distance without having back pain? Can you jog it without having back pain? At what mileage do you start to have that back pain? Like, when is it coming on? What's the severity of it? It's going to start to change how we shape it. And sometimes it's to the point where it's like, hey, we can have both of those goals, but we got to pick one for right now. If your goal is to be able to run without back pain, let's focus on that first. And then we'll build momentum to then start working on the overall time of it. So that's kind of the first thing is prioritizing and like, when is the goal set? Is there a competition coming up? And that's kind of where we would start the process.
Of course, yeah.
And then from there, we'd start looking and seeing whether it's performance or whether it's your discomfort. Oftentimes they are very much related to each other. Where is there potential limiting factors in your movement system that's not allowing you to get faster? And notice that we're doing this prior to going into specific running mechanics.
Yeah.
It is one of my pet peeves of, yes, we need generalized perspective first, but watching a whole dynamic movement like running, that I can't even list out the amount of muscles that are needed to run because I can't think of a muscle that's not active when you're running. So we can almost say all of them, but from the visible eye, we're not able to see these things that are happening, or if we see them, we're not able to say that it's because of the foot or the ankle or the knee or the hip or your shoes or your rib cage or your shoulders or your arm swing. Like, we can see some of it happening, but without testing it and kind of breaking it down to the individual parts, we're not going to be able to have a solution for it. So we have to start looking and seeing what are the limiting factors that are creating this exhaustion or inability to improve your time from just a movement system standpoint, right? And one example that I can give is a side plank. A side plank hold is very related to running economy, meaning that it allows you to become more efficient in your running. Your calf endurance, your calf strength, your calf power also is one of these things that is very related to your running economy. The more elasticity you have stored in the tendons, the better that your movement system is able to propel or push you forward with running. So, you know, how many calf raises can you do
Yeah, it's like assessing those things.
at baseline,
Yeah.
and then we can start to build from there. Like if you are running distance and you're only able to do like 15 single leg heel raises, hey, that's an issue that we need to work on.
Mhm.
We'll work on that and then bring it back to the whole, and the whole will help to improve as a result of that.
Mhm.
So we go through and kind of look at the system and see where are these limiting factors. I mentioned side plank, mentioned calf raise, and there's a lot of other assessments that we would use to figure out where is this limiting factor, where are your weak points, let's condition them. Now let's bring it back to the whole. Now let's ask, is it a aerobic system that needs to be developed further with more easy pace runs, 60% intensity, longer distances where you're building up the ability to just have a good aerobic system? Is it the ability to tolerate intensity at a lactate threshold? If that's the case, and we're going to use something more like interval running or threshold running, and then go from there. You know, if it's like, hey, I want to get faster with a 5K, well, there's a lot of components that go into that.
Yeah.
So again, we have to start summing all this up. We have to start one with what's the priority. We can have both goals, but let's build momentum and let's look at like your running season and see where are we at in this? What's the severity of the pain? What's the next competition you have? How significant is this competition? What's the time frame looking like? Do we need to manage pain while we're trying to improve time? Um, are we at a point that we can put pain, getting rid of the pain first, building up a good foundation, and then building your times after that? So we got to prioritize and figure out that part first. Two, breaking down the movement system into its individual components, then bringing it back to the whole. And then once we bring it back to the whole, now we can start talking about running mechanics. One of the biggest ones that we see, and this isn't all the time, it's never 100%, but more times than not, what we end up seeing is that the faster that people are going, the more upright their chest becomes, and the more that they get into back extension. And I think part of it is they're trying to get air in, so they're trying to give their rib cage more room
Mm.
to expand. And in doing that, you're putting your back into almost a hyper extended position, which becomes a lot of impact load coming down in through the spine. And so a lot of times what I'll tell runners, that's very a simple thing of like, hey, just lean your chest forward a little bit.
Mhm.
Not like a hip hinge,
Right.
but you leaning your chest forward is going to bring you back to a neutral spine. And that might take just a little bit of the force away that's going down into the low back. It might distribute it better down into the ground.
Mm.
And that little tip sometimes can be the answer once the other things have been taken care of. But notice that we're going to take care of those other things first before we start going to running specific cueing.
Mhm. I have a couple things I want to add,
Ooh.
but this is from a girl who has no education about this stuff at all. And just like two things that I feel like I wouldn't say I'm a runner
Hmm.
in the sense of like runners are like cool. Like they're
Yeah.
like running half marathons, they're like sprinting, they run like 5Ks all the time. Like I enjoy running and I like to run, but I'm not like over here running like every day of the week.
Hmm.
But that's kind of what I want to add is if oh, and if you're a runner, but maybe you have never really been coached, but you are working towards a goal, but you're just like going out and running every day. Like that's not a specific training plan to help you reach your goal. That's just like going out and running.
Yeah.
And if you're not looking at the data of like what should my pace be, what should my mileage be and stuff like that, like you're not going to have as much success both with the back pain and with your goal of getting faster because you don't have like the specific numbers to support your running plan. And I say that because like I'll just like go out for a run, but I don't have a goal necessarily that I'm trying to achieve. But then once I set a goal, I try to have a training plan that best supports whatever that goal is.
Right.
So I just kind of wanted to mention that because I think sometimes people are like, "Oh, I want to run faster," but they don't have like the proper training plan and they're just
Right.
like getting up in the morning and going for a run, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I want to go faster. Well, what are your split times? What's a split time?
Right, exactly.
What's your
Yeah.
workout look like? Or does it have variety in it? No, I just go and run a 5K every day.
Yeah.
Like that's not preparing for it. Well, okay, like that probably got you to where you're at right now, but now we need to dial it in and be more specific.
Yeah, and honestly, like I really think it's a lot more fun when you bring the sports science into it.
Yeah.
Like I just think it's a lot more fun and enjoyable as an athlete because there's like more variety and stuff like that. And the other like simple thing that I really just want to add is make sure you're eating well
Yeah.
and eating enough. I think that sometimes runners don't eat as much as they should. And I
Yeah.
don't want to assume that with Owen, but any runner that's listening, make sure that you're eating enough because that's only going to help you in
Yeah.
this process. So,
Yeah. No, that opens up the whole other side of this of internal load.
mhm,
Everything we've talked to this point has been external load. And I'm glad you brought up the nutrition component of it because yeah, you're running more mileage and running is an expensive activity.
mhm.
Not in like the gear, but in
It could be.
the calories that need to be consumed in order to be hitting these high mileages and the amount of carbs that are needed. You need carbs. You need the carbs to do it.
You
Typically,
need
you need
carbs.
carbs. With athletes, we're looking at like 50% of their diet being carbs. Like with runners, like 60% or higher than that,
Mhm,
depending on the mileage. But you need carbs and you need good carbs that are long lasting carbs that are going to allow you to perform throughout that. And you got to make sure you're not in too much of a caloric deficit. The general rule of thumb, it's not perfect, but a general rule of thumb is for every mile that you run above your maintenance calories, you should add 100 calories for each mile.
mhm.
So if you think about like, if you're doing 30 miles in a week, that's a lot of extra calories that
Yeah.
you need to be getting in and consuming and having ready for you. The other thing that I would say with this is specifically with having the back discomfort, and if you start seeking help from professionals of it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to basically say like, hey, what's the evidence on this?
Mhm,
Because I've seen so many times, and we've worked with a lot of runners that have come in to work with us that have said all the things that they've been told that are just not accurate and misinformed that have created more nope that has taken away their hope of being able to perform at a higher level.
mhm,
Some of the things to look out for is your SI joint being out of place, a leg length discrepancy that is a functional one, meaning that your legs could appear that they have a discrepancy in the length, but it's due to something up the kinematic chain having a spasm or protecting or guarding. And if you can do something very quick and restore the leg length to being equal, that's a functional leg
mhm,
length discrepancy. You likely don't need lifts in your shoe or inserts. You don't need things popped back into place because things aren't out of place. There's just a
mhm,
muscle that's probably under condition that's getting strained too much that's now protecting because the brain perceives it to be a threat. And you have to train so that that doesn't happen again. But you don't have to go and get all these different inserts and orthotics and think that, well, I can't improve my run because I have half an inch leg length discrepancy and yeah, my hips just can't do it.
mhm.
And all the different crazy things that are out
Yeah.
there that used to be very believed, but the research has really debunked it throughout it. So just if you're working with someone or seeking like professional help, make sure that you're getting the evidence with that and getting second opinions if it starts to seem a little fishy.
Yeah. Yeah, and be open-minded. I think I want to say this like with charity, but I sometimes think that our parents' generation, maybe
Mhm.
not specifically our parents, maybe specifically our parents, but just in general, like there's an older generation of people who are just like, yes, doc, and that's trickled into like the younger generation kind of following that. And I'm not saying that doctors are always wrong by any means. I mean, Dylan's a doctor. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like common, I don't want to say common sense, but like just having an open mind allows you to experience and see and listen to like what God is speaking to you to kind of spot out those like fishy things. Cause
Yeah.
I think for me personally in the past, if someone told me something in authority, I just said yes
Hmm.
or I agree or okay. And it's like, well, sometimes like they're misinformed as
Yeah.
well. And so having resources that you trust, but then also having an open mind to kind of see these things. I'm a big believer like God made our bodies so good and intentionally made them so good that if language is being used to say that you can't do something ever or you're unable to heal or this is something you're going to have for the rest of your life, like and that's a whole different tangent for another episode, but like that very much like from even if it's from an authority, like I do not subscribe to saying yes to that because God made our bodies so good. Why would he create our good bodies to then like have an SI joint that's always going to slip in and out of place? Like
Right.
that just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
That does not make sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like having the open-mindedness, I just kind of
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
trickle that in.
Open-mindedness, but also grounded in, I don't want to say common sense because that seems kind of rude,
But it
but
kind of is, but
it
it's
kind
common to us, so it's like I don't want to sound rude about it,
of,
but also like,
just to paint the picture with like the SI joint really quickly, like this joint has the strongest ligaments, muscles, fascial tissue around it. It barely can move,
hmm
barely can move, like less than a millimeter. And people come in and they'll say like, well, yeah, I have this like anterior innominate that's rotated and my SI joint's out of place. Oh, let me guess. They put your thumbs kind of right above your butt. They had you march, and with their thumbs, they said that they felt that this thing was doing this and that. And they're like, yes. Well, here's the research on when they looked at people palpating it and seeing one, could they palpate it? And two, did they get the same results? And the results were atrocious
mm,
and showing that one, this thing barely moves, two, that the palpators were not in agreement with what they found, and they were considered expert palpators
mm,
in the field. So there was an agreement upon it. And then from a physiological standpoint or just an anatomical standpoint, there was this old paper in the emergency room that the MDs that were writing it were saying that in traumatic car accidents where there's a lot of force, when people came into the emergency room and their hips were shattered, the thing that stayed true is that their SI joint remained stable.
that's awesome.
So I'm sorry that you think that running for a certain distance
Yeah.
like shifted this thing out of place. That didn't happen. Now, can this happen? Yes, in very specific populations.
hmm
Pregnancy is one, but there's now conflicting evidence on that as well of like, yes, some of the ligaments, there's this hormone relaxin, some of the ligaments change, but maybe the back pain is because the amount of load that happens in that second trimester. In
hmm
the first trimester, kind of developing, but that second one is really when the baby is getting bigger and
hmm
the abdomen is coming more anterior. So there's more force onto the back of the spine that maybe the SI pain that they're feeling is just that change in workload
mm,
that they're like then getting used to. But there are, again, it's a specific population. So like we have to make sure that that narrative is understood.
yeah.
But in a general population where you're not, pregnant or postpartum,
hmm
and these things are happening, it's okay to ask these questions.
Yeah.
Like I'm not here saying that's not okay to ask that or to believe that, but just get the evidence, get fact.
Yeah, that's a little tangent,
Yeah,
is just like if you're going to providers, like asking questions and being well informed and stuff like that is only going to help you
yeah,
in your recovery from this pain that you're feeling.
yeah. I think my new saying is that's the science. The choice is yours.
Yeah, right. Choice is yours.
Choice is yours.
Any other thoughts that you may want to add about running faster or getting out of back pain? I feel like you crushed it. Great response.
Thanks. Yeah, I think the last thing is that for whatever reason, we tend to go to the most complex thing first
Mm,
and go to the simple things. Go to simple things first. Like some people are like, oh, I'm not faster because I don't have the like brand new running shoe. I don't have the best wearable. I'm not wearing like Blu-ray glasses at night, so my recovery's down,
yeah.
and that like impacting my running performance the next day. Versus sometimes it's like, are you running enough?
hmm
Have you done enough training to tolerate the running load that you're putting on? Were your shoes tied? Like I know it sounds funny, but a lot of times it's a lot more simple
Yeah.
than what we think. And not saying that like running analysis and stuff can't help. There's a time and place for that. But more times than not, like starting with the simple things first carries way more benefit than risk.
hmm I love it.
So that's that. Hope story time.
Hope story time.
Yeah.
Would you like to?
Let's do you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Um, my hope story, I got to see a friend of mine who I didn't realize, but I hadn't seen them in 5 years.
Wow.
And they were visiting like upstate New York, where we live, and they were here for a different reason and reached out. And we'd been in touch, like we talk on the phone and text and things like that. But as soon as we saw each other, we were like, how long has it actually been? You know? And the reason it's a hope story is one, like at least in my situation with the life that I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people from all over the country and work with them and volunteer with them and things like that. And so I've had all these different connections from all over the world. And so a lot of my, or country more so. So a lot of my friends are more like long distance, but I think there's something to be said about the gift of like picking up where you left off,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and what a gift and a grace it is to have people that you can just like go have coffee with
Right.
when they're in town or you're near them or, you know, hopping on a phone call or whatever. And for my situation in this specific hope story, you know, 5, 6 years ago when I met this person and became friends with them, they were going through challenges in their life, and the experience that I had and I had healed from directly helped them because they were going through the exact same thing that I had gone through like 2, 3 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to really journey with them, but then also get them the resources that they needed in order to have a good and healthy recovery and healing from what they were going through.
Oh.
And it's like one, that's not me. That's like by the grace of God that I had the suffering that I had so that I could help people
Mm-hmm.
with the suffering that they went through. But she's one of these people that like I'll always have as like, wow, God really used this suffering to like heal other people,
Mm.
you know? And so getting to see that like her in the flesh for the first time in 5 years, just like very life-giving, very joyful for me because I'm like, this is how God intended it, you
Yeah.
know? And I also just love when people are like living joyfully and living like their best life and just like really thriving, and she's in that right now. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to see and very thankful to have that time with her.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
that's what becoming hope is.
heyo, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you for listening. And Owen, thank you for that question. Have a great week. And remember, high performance isn't just about using the strategy of hope, it's about becoming hope.
Thank you for listening to the Hope Not Nope podcast. Please subscribe and share this episode. This podcast is for educational and personal development purposes only and is not considered health or medical advice. For personalized support, connect with a Hope Coach at hopenotnope.org.